Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. 2014 Isla Vista killings. On 2014, in Isla Vista, California, 22-year-old Elliot Rodger killed 6 people and injured 14 others near the campus of University of California, Santa Barbara, before killing himself inside his vehicle. The attack began when Rodger stabbed 3 men to death in his apartment. Afterwards, he drove to a sorority house and shot 3 female students outside, killing 2. He drove to a nearby deli and shot to death a male student who was inside. He began to speed through Isla Vista, shooting and wounding several pedestrians and striking several others with his car. Rodger exchanged gunfire with police twice during the attack, receiving a non-fatal gunshot to the hip. The rampage ended when his car crashed into a parked vehicle and came to a stop. Police found him dead in the car with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Before driving to the sorority house, Rodger uploaded to YouTube a video titled Elliot Rodger's Retribution, in which he outlined details of his upcoming attack and his motives. He explained that he wanted to punish women for rejecting him and that he envied sexually active men, so he wanted to punish them for their sexual activity. After uploading the video, Rodger emailed a lengthy autobiographical manuscript to some of his acquaintances, his therapist and several family members. The document, titled My Twisted World, The Story of Elliot Rodger, was made available on the internet and became widely known as his Manifesto. In it, he described his childhood, family conflicts, frustration over not being able to find a girlfriend, his hatred of women, his contempt for couples, his disgust for interracial couples, and his plans for what he described as retribution. Preparation. In September 2012, Rodger visited a shooting range to train himself in firing handguns. In November 2012, he purchased his first handgun, a Glock 34 pistol, in Goleta, after doing research on handguns. As documented in his manifesto, he assessed the Glock 34 as an efficient and highly accurate weapon. In early 2013, Rodger bought 2 additional handguns, both 6 Sauer P226 pistols, writing that they were of a much higher quality than the Glock, and a lot more efficient. He purchased the weapons in Oxnard and Burbank. According to his manifesto, Rodger had saved $5,000 of pocket money, which was given to him by his parents and grandmothers, in order to purchase the weapons and supplies that he needed for the attacks. Gun law experts have said that there was nothing in his known history that prevented him from making legal firearm purchases. Attacks. Rodger began his attacks at his apartment on Seville Road, where 3 men were found dead inside. Each victim had received multiple stab wounds, and all had been killed approximately 3 hours before the shooting spree. Their bodies were found the day following the shootings. They were identified as Rodger's roommates, Yan Wang and Cheng Hong, and a friend named George Chen. Faint blood stains in the main hallway of the apartment indicate at least one of the victims had been attacked as he entered the apartment. Authorities later said that the presence of a blood-soaked bath towel and paper towels in the bathroom suggest Rodger had attempted to clean the hallway after each murder. The bodies of Wang and Hong were found in their shared bedroom, whereas Chen's body was found in the bathroom. The positioning of the bodies suggested each victim had entered the apartment separately before being murdered, and that Rodger had made efforts to conceal the bodies of the first 2 victims by covering them with blankets, towels, and clothing. Police removed a knife, a hammer, and 2 machetes from the apartment, but they later determined that 2 knives recovered from a backpack found in Rodger's car were the weapons used to kill the apartment victims. Less than 2 hours preceding the shooting spree, Rodger went to a Starbucks coffee shop, where he purchased some coffee. He was later seen sitting in his car in the parking lot of his apartment building at about, working on his laptop. He uploaded a Retribution video and sent his manifesto email at Rodger drove to the Alpha Phi sorority house at Embarcadero del Norte and Segovia Road near the University of California, Santa Barbara. He knocked on the sorority house door for a few minutes. After no one answered, he began shooting people who were nearby. He first shot 3 Delta sorority sisters, killing 2 of them and wounding the third. Responding sheriff's deputies and nearby pedestrians ran to the victims and tried to tend to their wounds before ambulances arrived. After returning to his car, Rodger drove 2 blocks onto Pardle Road and fired once at a coffee shop as he went eastbound. The shop was closed and unoccupied at the time, and no one was injured by the gunshot. He then arrived at the Isla Vista Deli Mart and fired several gunshots into the building, fatally shooting a student inside. His car was seen leaving the scene by 4 responding foot patrol officers, but they did not identify him as the shooter and he escaped without incident. Rodger drove south on Embarcadero del Norte on the wrong side of the street, striking a pedestrian crossing the street and firing at 2 others on the sidewalk, but missing both. Embarcadero del Norte curves near a 7-Eleven convenience store, forming the loop, where he continued firing, hitting a couple exiting a pizzeria and then a female bicyclist. He drove south on El Embarcadero and shot at and missed a woman, turned east on Del Playa Drive, then made a U-turn and drove west, where he exchanged fire with a sheriff's deputy, who was responding to a 911 call, and struck 2 pedestrians. Students at the Isla Vista Church, on Del Playa near Camino del Sur, were finishing a worship service at the time and heard gunfire. Turning north on Camino del Sur, Rodger shot and wounded 3 people at Sabado Dud, and also struck a skateboarder and 2 bicyclists with his car. Turning east on Sabado Dud, he struck a skateboarder with his car, and shot 2 other men at the intersection with Camino Pescadero. On Sabado Dud near Little Acorn Park, he again exchanged gunfire, this time with 3 sheriff's deputies, and was shot in the left hip. Pursued by police, he turned south a second time on El Embarcadero, then west again on Del Playa. He struck a bicyclist, then crashed on the north sidewalk just east of the intersection of Del Playa and Camino Pescadero. Police found Rodger dead inside his vehicle from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his head. He killed a total of 6 other people, and wounded 14 others. Aftermath. Police investigated a total of 17 crime scenes. A search of Rodger's car recovered 3 pistols, the 2 knives used to kill the 3 men at the apartment, 6 empty 10-round magazines, and 548 rounds of unspent ammunition, all found in 10-round magazines or ammunition boxes. A total of 83 spent shell casings were recovered from the crime scenes, 55 of which were fired from Rodger and the remaining 28 from sheriff's deputies. Rodger purchased the 9mm guns legally in 3 different cities. Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown said that there was video and written evidence suggesting the crime was premeditated, and that preparations took over a year. Officers from the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives began searches of the separate homes of Rodger's mother and father in Los Angeles. The media later reported the frantic attempt by Rodger's parents to intervene on the evening of the killings. After receiving a copy of the Manifesto, Rodger's therapist phoned his mother. She checked his YouTube channel, where she found the Retribution video that he had uploaded minutes earlier. She called Rodger's father regarding the disturbing video. He was horrified when he watched the full video. Rodger's father, his current wife, and Rodger's mother all started frantically driving from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara in 2 separate cars. During the drive, they called police in Isla Vista and they arranged to meet them upon arrival. Hearing a radio news report of a shooting in Isla Vista, his mother called the therapist, who told her it was unrelated, saying that Rodger promised to act the following day and it would be unlike him to deviate from such details. When they reached the police station in Isla Vista, they learned that the news report was, in fact, about their son, and that he had killed 6 people. A month after the rampage, the parents of the stabbing victims expressed anger and frustration about multiple aspects of the case, including the failure of police to take preventive action before the attack, the limited amount of information that the authorities had released about their children's murders, more public interest in Rodger than in the victims, and perceived emphasis on the rights of the mentally ill over the rights of victims. On March 2, 2015, the families of the 3 stabbing victims filed a federal lawsuit against the county, the sheriff's department, the apartment building, and the property management. The wrongful death suit alleged that the defendants failed to recognize warning signs and take action to prevent the tragedy. On February 18, 2015, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office released a 64-page final investigative summary report of the killings. Fatalities. All 6 murder victims were students at the University of California, Santa Barbara. They were declared dead at the scenes of their attacks. The men killed at Rodger's apartment were identified as George Chen, 19, Chen Yuan, James Hong, 20, and Wang David Wang, 20. Hong and Chen were confirmed to be Rodger's roommates according to an apartment lease, while police were investigating whether Wang was also a resident or visiting the apartment on the night of the killings. The 3 students who died from gunshot wounds were identified as Catherine Brianne Cooper, 22, Christopher Ross Michaels Martinez, 20, and Veronica Elizabeth Weiss, 19. Cooper and Weiss, both members of the Delta 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 sorority, were killed outside the Alpha Phi sorority house, while Michaels Martinez died inside the Isla Vista deli mart. On February 18, 2015, autopsy reports for all 6 slain victims were released by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office as part of a 64-page final investigative summary report. Survivors: 14 other people were injured. 7 from gunshot wounds and 7 by blunt trauma sustained when Rodger struck them with his vehicle. 11 of the injured were taken to hospitals. 7 went to Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, where 2 were admitted in serious condition, 1 in fair condition, and 2 others in good condition, and 1 patient was released on the same day. The remaining 4 injured were taken to Galita Valley Cottage Hospital, where they were all treated and released. By graduation day at UCSB, all surviving victims had been released from the hospitals. 5 attended graduation ceremonies. UCSB awarded posthumous degrees to the 6 slain students. Early life and education. Rodger was born in London, England, and moved to the United States with his parents when he was 5 years old. He was raised in Los Angeles. His mother is Lee Chin Rodger, a Malaysian research assistant for a film company, and his father is British filmmaker Peter Rodger, whose credits include working as a second-unit assistant director for The Hunger Games. A younger sister was born before his parents divorced. After his father remarried, he and his second wife Sumaira Ka'abaun, a Moroccan actress, had a son together. Elliot Rodger's paternal grandfather was photojournalist George Rodger. Rodger attended Crespi Carmelite High School, an all-boys Catholic school in Encino, Los Angeles, and then Taft High School in Woodland Hills. He graduated from Independence Continuation High School in Lake Balboa in 2009. He moved to Isla Vista on June 4, 2011. Rodger attended Santa Barbara City College. In his manifesto, he said that he dropped out of all his classes in February 2012. The school said he was no longer taking classes. Mental health and social problems. According to his family's attorney and a family friend, Rodger had seen multiple therapists since he was 8 years old and while he was a student at SBCC. The lawyer said that Rodger was receiving psychiatric treatment, but Rodger was never formally diagnosed with a mental illness. A psychiatrist had prescribed him antipsychotic medication used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, but he refused to take it. According to Rodger's mother, he was diagnosed as having Asperger syndrome, but a formal medical diagnosis of the disorder was not made. He was in fact diagnosed with pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, another autism spectrum disorder. In 2007, by the 9th grade, Rodger was increasingly bullied, and he wrote that he cried by himself at school every day. During his time at Crespi Carmelite High, he was bullied by other students, including an incident that involved his head getting taped to his desk while he was asleep. According to Rodger, in 2012, the one friend he had in the whole world who truly understood him blatantly said he didn't want to be friends anymore, without offering him a reason for ending the friendship. Rodger had a YouTube account and a blog titled Elliot Rodger's Official Blog, both of which contained posts expressing loneliness and rejection. He wrote that he had been prescribed risperidone, but refused to take it, stating, "After researching this medication, I found that it was the absolute wrong thing for me to take." After turning 18, Rodger began rejecting the mental health care that his family provided, and he became increasingly isolated. He said that he was unable to make friends, although acquaintances said that he rebuffed their attempts to be friendly. Screenwriter Dale Launer, who was a friend of the Rodger family, stated that he had counseled Rodger on approaching and befriending women, but that Rodger did not follow the advice. He said in an interview, "I first met Rodger when he was aged 8 or 9. And I could see then that there was something wrong with him. I'm not a psychologist, but looking back now he strikes me as someone who was broken from the moment of conception." Earlier incidents. In July 2011, Rodger followed a couple he was jealous of out of a Starbucks in Goleta and threw coffee on them. In a later incident, he splashed his latte on 2 girls sitting at a bus stop in Isla Vista for not smiling back at him. In July 2012, Rodger purchased a super soaker, filled it with orange juice, and used it to spray a group playing kickball at Gersh Park, referring to an incident that occurred on 2013. Rodger wrote that he tried to shove girls at a party over a 10-foot ledge after being mocked, but failed, and instead other boys pushed him over it. He said that he felt a snap in his ankle, followed by a stinging pain, and tried to get away from there as fast as he could. Realizing that he left his sunglasses at the party, Rodger returned to retrieve them, but the same people he had tangled with before began mocking him and calling him names, then dragged him into the driveway to beat him up. One of Rodger's neighbors said that he saw Rodger come home, crying, and said that Rodger claimed that he was going to kill the men involved, and kill myself. Rodger told investigating officers that he had been assaulted, but they determined that he might have been the aggressor. He wrote in his manifesto that the incident was the final trigger for his planning of the attack. On 2014, Rodger accused his roommate Chen Yuan Hong of stealing his candles. He performed a citizen's arrest and called 911. Hong was charged with petty theft and pleaded guilty to the charge. Hong was one of Rodger's stabbing victims. On 2014, about 3 weeks before the attack, Rodger's parents contacted police after becoming alarmed by his behavior and YouTube videos. He wrote in his manifesto that he had already planned the killings and purchased his guns by that time. The officers who interviewed him at his apartment would have found the weapons if they had conducted a search of his bedroom. Santa Barbara County Sheriff Bill Brown later said that the deputies determined he did not meet the criteria for an involuntary hold, and that Rodger told them it was a misunderstanding with his parents. Manifesto and online posts. Rodger's 107,000-word manifesto was titled, "My Twisted World, The Story of Elliot Rodger." He emailed this manifesto to 34 individuals, including his therapist, his parents, and some of his other family members, former school teachers, and childhood friends. In the manifesto, Rodger claimed he originally sought to carry out his attack on Halloween of 2013, but reconsidered, because here would be too many cops walking around during an event like Halloween, and cops are the only ones who could hinder my plans. In his last YouTube video, titled, Elliot Rodger's Retribution, he complained of being rejected by women while envying sexually active men, and described details of his upcoming attack, laying out his motives and plans. In the wake of the killings, the video was deleted from Rodger's account, but copies were repeatedly reposted by other users. In the video, he says, he wrote in, "My twisted world. The being of mixed race made him different from the normal fully white kids." On one online forum, he said that he opposed interracial dating, and made several racist posts regarding African American, Hispanic, South Asian and East Asian peoples, stating that seeing men of these ethnic groups socializing with white women makes you want to quit life. In one online post, Rodger wrote, in his manifesto, Rodger made a racist comment regarding another boy, outlining some of his plans. The manifesto specifically mentions a war on women as the second phase of his plan for starving him of sex, in which he states, Rodger stated in his manifesto that in his self-proclaimed ideal world, he imagined that he would quarantine all women in concentration camps. At these camps, the vast majority of the female population will be deliberately starved to death. That would be an efficient and fitting way to kill them all off. I would have an enormous tower built just for myself, and gleefully watch them all die. He also dreamed of a pure world, where the man's mind can develop to greater heights than ever before. Future generations will live their lives free of having to worry about the barbarity of sex and women, which will enable them to expand their intelligence and advance the human race to a state of perfect civilization. He further said that he planned to kill his half-brother and stepmother, but was not mentally prepared to kill his father. The New Statesman posited that the manifesto may influence a new generation of involuntary celibates. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?